In this movie, I'll be giving you a demo of some excellent effects plugins by DMG Audio, a company run by the man behind the original Focusrite Forte plugins, and more recently, Beardy Man's custom-made performance software, the Beardytron. The range covers a fair bit of ground, including a number of EQs of varying shapes and sizes, as well as compressors, DSs, and multi-FX. Let's start by looking at Compassion, which is their compressor. So here's a live set I've thrown together using some samples from a nice Loopmasters pack called Live Deep Jazz House Volume 2. Soloing the beats then, I'll add Compassion to the track. One of the great things you'll notice straight away is the nice big display, which shows you the waveform of the drums with the threshold either side. So when I bring it down now, either using the dial or dragging the display, you can clearly see how much of the drums are going over the threshold. Then, turning up the ratio can again be done with the dial or on the display in the upper or lower sections, which show you the gain reduction. So the more you see going on there, the more effect the compressor is having. And the display pauses when you hover the mouse over it, which is a nice touch, allowing closer inspection of the compressor's effect. Once the compressor is acting on the level, bringing it down, you can turn it up with the makeup dial, or just hit the switch alongside to turn on auto makeup, which allows a constant monitoring level to be maintained. A big part of the sound of the compressor is the result of the attack and release settings, which in their default states is quite high, at 50 and 150 milliseconds. These are actually really great settings if you want to conserve some of the natural sound. The tendency with a lot of people is to make the compressor work harder, reducing those times to totally squash the signal. You can both hear and see when I do that though, why this is often not a good idea. Reducing the attack just loses the initial transient and so punchiness of the drum hits. And you can see when I hit Command A to go back to the default, the difference on the gain reduction display where we lose the green portion, which is the attack bit, so shows the compressor kicking in. With almost no green there, the compression is pretty much instant, so the compressor is removing all peaks and flattening it like a limiter. Bringing down the release now will change the compression from a quick and smooth limiting effect to a choppy fast one, where all the peaks are being crushed. And on the display, you can see a lot more green being reintroduced as the compressor is stopping and starting rapidly, which results in a totally distorted sound if you push it too far. A couple of other displays here are the knee and response graphs, so you can view and edit precisely how the compressor is behaving. The knee can be changed directly from the graph if you want to soften the response. It's easier to see if I lower the threshold and raise the ratio. Then you'll see how you can smooth the knee to make the compressor work more gradually as the threshold is reached. Next to this, there are some other handy controls, like an input trim for changing the input level if you need to, and a dry-wet dial for applying parallel compression. So you could have the compressor set up nice and heavily, but blend in some of the uncompressed sound to keep it punchy. And there's the option of having the compressor in sidechain mode too. Then at the top, you've got a whole load of presets. So there are some helpful starting points for beginners to try when using the plugin in different situations. For more advanced users though, the compressor has perhaps the widest range of controls I've ever seen. Hitting the switch at the end of the clutter bar opens up the advanced controls area, which has tons of options for configuring the compressor to the nth degree. Every one of these sections, which relate to the main parameters of the compressor, has a number of additional parameters, which you can see if I cycle through them here. Or if I double-click on one to view them all, where you can then see just how much extra control you have over exactly how that parameter behaves. In this case, you can dictate exactly how you want the knee response to be, how much gain reduction you want to occur, and so on. One section that's really handy here is the sidechain EQ, where you've got a 3-band EQ to apply to the sidechain signal. And there's so much more here, including the ability to turn it into an expander or gate, or apply transient shaping and clip limiting, and a host of useful global controls like activating RMS, look ahead, and much more. Also on the clutter bar at the top, you can have up to 8 different compressor settings, A to H, which you can freely switch between for trying out and instantly comparing different effects, with easy pasting from one setting to another, as well as all sorts of different monitoring and setup options. So this really is a do-all compressor that can be customized to become whatever you want it to be. Beginners needn't be put off by the complexity though, as the most advanced features are all hidden away and there are plenty of presets available. But experienced producers have perhaps the widest range of options I've ever seen in a compressor plugin at their fingertips, so Compassion comes highly recommended for producers of any level. Check out episode 7 of our podcast In the Loop, coming out very soon, for a chance to win the plugin for yourself. See you next time.